Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to By the Numbers. I'm Kevin Emmons here, your host, my co-host Chris Baker, Roger Boyd producing, doing all the magic behind the scenes as he always does. I'm happy to be back. I was out last week a little under the weather. We're here with episode 8. Big show today. We got two great guests, a player from a very good Group 5 team and a coach from another very good Group 5 team. So we're excited to bring them on today. We're excited to be back here. By the numbers, go through some huge numbers with you guys. Before we get into anything, we usually like to start off the show talking about a few.
Give me 1 second. Hold on. I got to switch this real quick. Different mics. Forgot to do that. All right, go ahead, Kev.
Yeah, so as I was saying, welcome back to By the Numbers. Before we get into anything, before we get into any high school related local games or anything like that, we always like to go through some of the local products who stood out in the NFL and the NCAA over the weekend. Jonathan Taylor obviously still on a tear for the Indianapolis Colts. They had a huge win over the Arizona Cardinals this past week. Jonathan Taylor still leading the league in rushing, 603 rushing yards, 7 touchdowns. He's a consensus favorite to win NFL Offensive Player of the Year right now. The Salem, New Jersey product, getting it done for the 5-1 Indianapolis Colts. 750 yards from scrimmage, 8 total touchdowns. And another name we talked about for years on the high school level, from the time he was a freshman until the time he graduated last year in Millville, Lazier Brooks, who had a huge game, particularly a huge catch in Alabama's win over Missouri. He was their leading receiver, 4 receptions for 68 yards in that 27-24 win over Missouri, which is a huge win. I mean, one, it's the SEC. I mean, it goes without saying how competitive football that is. It's the upper echelon of college football. But also, people look at rankings and numbers, stuff like that. They say, oh, well, Alabama was number 8 in the country. Missouri's number 14. Alabama's supposed to win that game. It ain't easy to win on the road in college, and especially in the SEC. And for Lazier Brooks to be able to go in there and make an impact like that as a true freshman, we knew how special of a player he was when he was at Millville. And I mean, it was on display last week, and he's only going to keep getting better. I mean, this guy we're going to see playing in the NFL very soon. So, Chris, I know over the weekend you were at a big game, a game that, as you called, was a game for naming rights, being that the teams had the same name, but also two teams playing for playoff positioning. So a lot of playoff ramifications in that game. Two teams who are playoff hopefuls. Take us through that game you were at. Let us know where you were at.
Yeah, so I was at Atlantic City at Eastern. Like I said, game for bragging rights, naming rights. I know after the game, some of the guys were like, yeah, we're the real Vikings. We're the real Vikings. Atlantic City pulled away late. They had a little bit of trouble getting the offense started at first. Couldn't really connect on their few passes. I know Marvin Burrows, a sophomore, kind of aired out a little bit. Couldn't really find his groove and couldn't really find a rhythm at first with the wide receivers. Once they got started, pretty much they just couldn't really stop. Tamir Rex had a huge game. Have him on later on the show. Omar Kelly had a pretty big game too for them. I'm trying to think of other guys that had some pretty big games besides Burrows. Jordan Rios had a rushing touchdown for him too as well. They kind of played a little bit more of a complete game in the second half. I know I talked to Coach Wright and Tamir and Omar after the game, and they said it's kind of been their identity this year. Start slow at first, which they don't want to, but it's been something that they're trying to still fix throughout the course of the season. I know we're on the backstretch of the season, getting towards playoff time. A lot of these games are big for playoff seedings. And they were saying that, we want to try and start earlier, but the biggest thing is they want to try and establish the run. But they're so explosive passing-wise that the defenses of the other teams they're playing are kind of like, do we try and stop the run first? Do we try and, stop the pass? And it's just, unfortunately, that game Eastern guessed right for most of the first half. And then the second half, Tamir and Burrows just kind of had it going.
Well, that's what I was going to ask next. I mean, I know it was a close game for most of the game, and then Atlantic City started to pull away at the end. What was the difference? What was that play, that certain drive where the tide just kind of turned and Atlantic City was able to pull away with it?
I think it was the drive that Atlantic City had 3 touchdowns called back by penalties. They were all long touches. I think it was like 60 or 70-yard touchdowns that they had called back by penalties. And then they ended up just kind of, after that, they're like, all right, well, if we can get the long play, we might as well just grind the clock out, drive them down. I think it ended up being like a 12 or 13 play drive. Ended up getting a touchdown out of it. I think Jordan Rios capped it with a touchdown. I had to double check there on my notes. But it was just kind of like, all right, well, we showed that we can, hit the big home run. But at this point, we might as well, grind them down, run them down, short passes, tunnel screens, inside zone, outside zone, trying to establish the run. They couldn't really get the run going for the course of the game, but Burrows found his guys in the open field, and it's been a moniker for Atlantic City the past couple of years is the home run ball, and they have those guys still. Whether it's they don't have Ice Cup now, who was the guy for them the past couple of years, but they have multiple guys now that kind of fill that gap that he might have left.
Absolutely. Well, we alluded to earlier who our first guest was going to be. I mentioned it was a player from a very good Group 5 team, and then Chris happened to mention it in his recap of the game. Our first guest tonight will be Atlantic City senior Tamir Rex, obviously the player of the game in the game that Chris went to over the weekend, Atlantic City at Eastern. They win 26-7. Rex finishes with 5 catches for 136 yards and 2 touchdowns. I actually met Tamir during basketball season last year or the year before. I can't remember. That's how long it's been. I mean, he's been a good athlete for a pretty long time. When they defeated Lower Cape May in a huge Cape Atlantic League basketball game down there, and that's when Atlantic City basketball started to trend back upwards because that's obviously a storied program in South Jersey when Eugene Allen was there, and then they had a little bit of growing pains, going through a transitionary period after he retired, and then Wayne Nelson came back, and Tamir Rex is one of those key players, part of that core where Atlantic City has been able to build back up as a South Jersey power. So, without any further ado, I think it's a good time to bring Tamir into the show. Do we have Tamir on the line?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Tamir, well, thank you for joining us. We're happy that you could take some time out of your night to join us. We talked a little bit about the game over Eastern, obviously the big performance that you had. How were you guys able to overcome that slow start and pull out a win there on the road against a very good Eastern team, a Group 5 team who you guys may see in the playoffs again?
I feel like it was our defense. Like our defense been a staple in a lot of these big wins that we had over the season. Like we have made a couple comebacks this year, like Millville, Cherokee. Those were all like key games for us to win, and I feel like our defense played big roles in that. And most of the time, it's our second half of the game that like makes the game where we make our money at. Like that's the better half of the team that we are.
And you mentioned Millville. I know earlier in the year you guys went to Delaware to play Mainland. Obviously you guys are two teams separated apparently 15 minutes, but made the trip to Delaware to play them in that showcase. And then following that up with the win against Millville. We talked about you guys earlier in the show. Obviously, going into year, you guys had a good season last year, and you guys put yourselves on the radar the year before that. You guys were a team that were on our radar, and then you guys won those 2 games, and we were like, hey, Atlantic City is the real deal. This is a team that whose trend is going, their stock is trending upwards, I should say. And we talked about how some people might have slept on you guys going into the year, but I've been around Atlantic City plenty of times. I know a lot of people from Atlantic City. I know how Atlantic City's mindset is, the mentality. I know going into the year, you guys knew who you were, you knew what you were capable of. What was the mindset going into the year? How were you guys ready to, kind of silence the doubters and show that you guys are still a very good football team?
I mean, we heard all the outside noise, like everyone saying we were rebuilding, we weren't going to be as good as last year without having PK Ice Cut returning, but we knew that like we were going to be the same team, if not better. Like we already knew that. We already put the work in for the weight room and the off season, so we weren't going to come into the season and just let any team just take it from us. So I feel like we were prepared to go on this type of run that we're going on in the off season.
And obviously, you guys had that playoff run last year, and that experience sort of helps you guys to have that mentality going into this year, being prepared for that. What did you guys learn from that playoff run last year? I know you guys obviously this year want to, exceed those expectations or exceed where you guys finished last year. So how does that experience from last year, being that you guys have a solid core back, what did you guys learn from that and how to help you?
I feel like those games in playoffs last year they made us more of a like team and come together because as you see like this season during the tight wins that we had, our team we really haven't gave up like so if we're down it's not like we're just gonna go away. We're gonna come back and keep fighting. We're never just gonna go down and lay down and just take the L. It's like our team this year is playing more, I want to say, together and not just letting like one person or two people take over, like two superstars. I feel like it's the whole team as a whole. Like everybody has a role that they have to play, and everyone's buying into their role and doing well at it.
Chris, you got anything?
Yeah, Tamir, we're getting to the backstretch of the season here. I know I talked to you on Friday night about how big each game is. I think about 3 or 4 weeks left after this one, maybe including this one as well.
Yeah.
I talked to you guys about how important the playoffs are on Friday night and how pretty much Group 5 is so spread out to where almost any team on the road is going to be making a long drive, whether it's to Atlantic
Hmm.
City or to Cherokee or Washington Township. You know, how big of a home field advantage do you feel you guys have, including the travel for most of these teams and the fans and community that come out each game?
I feel like our home field advantage, I feel like it's big because a lot of teams aren't always used to playing on the shore, so that type of weather, that's something you would have to like get used to while you're in the game. And then our fans, it's just great energy, a great environment, so that's something you would want to play in. Well, it's something you wouldn't want to play in, but I mean, like, the environment is good. Like you would want to get the experience to play there, and it's on the shore. The sky looks beautiful when you playing there also. So I mean, I would if I was the other team, I would definitely want to play in Atlantic City.
Hey, that's a great point. I remember I played in Atlantic City for basketball, so I wasn't outside. I can only imagine what it's like having that wind coming off the bay and stuff like that. So that is a tough place to play if you're not used to those settings. So
Yeah.
that's a great point there. Yeah, I played basketball, so we were indoors, but it was still tough. I still remember the day we had a quad scrimmage down there, Pemberton, Atlantic City, Freehold Township, Manchester Township, and there was a unexpected snowstorm that day. 1 hour bus ride turned into a 3 hour bus ride. So luckily we were inside. We didn't have to endure those weather conditions. But that's a
That's
great
bad.
point about playing outside there in Atlantic City because with the bay and whatnot, that's something you can't really prepare for.
Yeah.
You can't simulate that in practice. Tamir, mentioning basketball, and I mentioned before you came on how I met you when you guys were competing on the hardwood. You guys beat Lower Cape May. I was able to talk to you. You were one of the players of the game that day, and that program has started
Yes,
to
sir.
trend in the right direction. How does basketball? I know a lot of you guys play basketball. How does basketball and playing other sports in the off season help you guys prepare for football season?
But like it's always in rotation. Right now we have like it's football season, but we still have our basketball workouts every now and then. So whenever we can get it working and we get it in, and it's like it's not everybody, but when everybody comes as a collective whole and we get in the gym together, it looks beautiful. And then I believe that this team that we have this year is going to be really good. Like it's not really much of a fall off just because we're losing Piki and Chris and Nasim. I feel like this team is going to be just as good because it's way more seniors on this team too. Like it's a lot of leadership, a lot of more experience, and it's not going to be as many young guys playing. I guess you could say, but this team, I feel like we're ready to go on the run also, just like last year.
And how special is it to just be able to represent your hometown of Atlantic City? As I said, I know people from Atlantic City. I've been there plenty of times in my life. I know it's sort of similar to where I come from, a very diverse area, and you guys play with a lot of pride. How special is it to be able to
Yeah.
represent that name on the front of your jersey? I know basketball, baseball, football, particularly football and basketball. I know it's a lot better when Atlantic City is doing good. It's just South Jersey football and basketball. It's just better. How special is it for you to be able to
Yeah.
represent that and your teammates to represent that?
I feel like it's very special because playing for Atlantic City, that's something like you build while you're younger. Like it's like a bond you build with your brothers, and to play with your brothers since you were like around, I want to say 6 years old, and come to high school and now you're seniors with them. I feel like that's something you can't make up everywhere else. So that's special. You can't do that too many places. Like playing with your brothers from whenever you start to wherever you finish, you wish you had that in a lot of places, wherever you go.
Now, do we have Rick? Is Rick back over there on the mic? Rick, I know you like to ask the players a couple questions every week. You always like to, throw a curveball, give them a couple of quick questions to answer based on their pregame routine and whatnot. So, what do you have for Tamir here?
I wasn't thinking about that. I'm back behind the scenes working, trying to get it right. But I was at the game this past weekend, the Eastern game.
Yeah.
I mean, you were one of the guys that were catching like the quick screens and things like that, kind of keeping the chains moving.
Mhm.
I don't want to say what your game plan is, but coming into a game where you guys are kind of know it's going to be a dogfight, being a spark plug for the team, like how does that feel for you, knowing that you're going to be able to get a screen pass and make the most of it and kind of put the battery in your team back as you guys are needed?
I feel like that's a big role. Like that's a big role you have to play for a team, especially as a senior. So like if you're a playmaker and your team leaning on you to make plays, you have to make those plays. You can't not make those plays. If you don't make the plays and nobody else steps up, then the team is not going to it's not going to work. But everyone on our offense and defense are all playmakers. So especially offense, if you get the ball in anybody's hands on our offense in open field, I feel like anybody is bound to make a play happen. First down, touchdown, long run, no matter what it is, I feel like anybody on our offense got the ability to do it.
Okay. And just another question off of that, like, as far as your game, who do you model your game after, or who's somebody that you've been watching over the years that has kind of influenced the way that you play?
I want to say like smaller receivers. I say like Tank Dell, like Zachariah Branch, um, like a lot of undersized, smaller people, so I could see like what they do or what they do better, so they can put themselves in better positions so they can succeed.
Yeah, because I was going to ask if you watched much of Tavon Austin, because that's kind of
Yeah, Tatum
like,
Austin too. I used to watch his mixtapes all the time.
okay, all right. Because I was kind of feeling that when I was watching you play. I'm like, man, he got a little bit of. Tavon was very special. He played, he played
Yeah,
running back and he played slot receiver more so when he got to college. But you kind of have like some of that similarity in your game. So that's why I wanted to ask you that. And then my last question, coming up from AC, that was kind of a little bit of a trip for y'all. So what was we
yeah.
playing in the iPad? I was about to say
AirPods.
AirPods.
There
My
you go.
bad. I was about to say iPod. It ain't the iPod no more. Old head, what you doing?
Um, to be honest, I was playing really chill music. To be honest, because going into the game, I want to say it's a rival game because of like the public like around it, the Vikings versus Vikings, and everything's going on. But once we got there, I wasn't really saying a word. Really, I was locked in. I didn't really talk much, nothing. I
Mhm.
was locked in. I knew the mission we had to get it, that we had to complete. So I just knew we had to get it done. Because last year too, I don't want to talk bad about Easter, but like they last year they was talking a lot. It was a lot of trash talk going on between both teams, and like it just that's something I hold with me, and I like that's my pride. So I just feel as though we had to take the win.
Yeah, that's I kind of the last part of what you said is something that I kind of felt from this game, was just the intensity of the game and the magnitude of the game. I mean, for you
Yeah,
guys, it was one of those things where you guys have kind of been in the top echelon of the teams, kind of going in and out a little bit, floating up and down the rankings. And I
mhm,
felt like this was a game, and this is why ultimately why it was a game of the week is because if Eastern comes into that game and they're finally able to get over the hump of beating Atlantic City, that would have kind of propelled them into the talks of being top 10 team or being right on that fringe. And it would have kind of hurt you guys a little bit of
yeah,
being still in the top 10. You get what I'm saying? So
yeah,
it kind of led up to a good matchup. And I mean, you guys got the best of them twice last year. So,
yeah.
that was added fuel to it too. But
That's another thing. We got them twice last year, so we knew that we couldn't sleep on them. They would be coming in with some different type of fire, motivation, plan. So we knew we had to like get going.
yeah, yeah, that's really dope. And just I guess my last question was I forgot it, but what I was asking about them what he played this and that Eastern. I forgot my last question, man.
Is that the pregame meal one?
Nah, I had a new one. I had a new one and I forgot it. I forgot it. It threw me off because now I like you're very well spoken. We spoke to
Yeah.
Peaky last year. We had him on the one-on-one show. Um I know exactly what it was. My bad. It goes back to the preseason and it was we tried to have Atlantic City in our 7-on-7 event, and you guys were traveling around to colleges and different
Oh
things
yeah.
like that. I spoke to your coach and things like that, so we kind of knew you guys weren't going to be there. I guess my question to you is like, how was that experience of traveling around the colleges? Did you learn anything? What did you pick up from that trip that you're going to kind of put into what you do on and off the field?
I feel like it was a great experience, and it was experience like like to have and learning experience also, because you could take a lot of from. Is you're playing 7-on-7 means way more because it's other like people. Is you want to play football for the rest of your life? This is controlling your life basically. Because if coaches are looking at you and you're having bad body language or you're being a cancer to the team, I mean, words get around. So the other college coaches are going to tell coaches at other schools, and then they're not going to want you neither. So, I mean, I just feel like you have to always put on the show no matter where you at, represent yourself well, your family, your coaches, your city, whoever raised you, and you just got to go out there and show who you are, really. And always be respectful because you never know who's watching or whatever somebody can say. Because somebody's always going to have an opinion on you no matter what, and you should try to always have that opinion be good so the word can spread and you can get like build better relationships with people that you would need in your life that you wouldn't know you need actually.
Yeah, man.
Great
Fire.
point. It's a great point.
It's back-to-back weeks now. We got some good college
Yeah,
recruitment stuff.
I just want to say, man, overall for me, I'm about to check out. I'm behind the scenes a little bit more now, but again, very well spoken, and you know how to articulate yourself very well. So I
Thank
see
you.
success in your future. A lot of times we get some interviews and it's like pulling teeth. It's one word answer, things like that. But you know how to articulate yourself very well. You're very well spoken. Much success to you in your future. And the
Thank
old
you.
head out. I'm going back in the background. I got some work to do real quick.
Yeah, so Tamir, we thank you for joining the show. As we said, taking time out of your night. I mean, that's great. Advice there. For people watching who may
Yeah.
experience that. Future college recruitment and whatnot, and the college visits, and just good advice on how to carry yourself as a student athlete. So we thank you for joining us. We congratulate you on what you guys have accomplished so far. I know the season's not over. You guys still have goals ahead of you. So we wish you luck the best of the way. And as Rick said, you have a bright future ahead of you. So just keep working, and the sky's the limit. And we're rooting for you, buddy. So thank you for joining the show. And
Thank you.
as I said,
Thank
best
you.
of
No
luck.
problem. Thank you.
Yeah, so great guest there, Tamir Rex. Obviously, he had a great performance on the field, and as you could see, well articulated, well spoken, intelligent kid with a good head on his shoulders, which is just as important, if not, it is more important. They say being a student athlete. That's why a student comes first, a student athlete, because being a student is first. So, tremendous kid there. We thank Tamir for joining us. We're thankful that he could join us tonight. And another thing that stood out to me there too is I love how Tamir is the second guest that we've had this year where we ask him who's a player they model their game after, and we've gotten some very specific good answers. When we had RJ Blunt on, he mentioned Omarion Hampton, RJ Harvey, and then Tamir Rex mentions Tank Dell, Zachariah Branch. People aren't getting on here saying the Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Derrick Henry. And I like that because obviously we're dealing with football players. They're watching football. Yeah. But the saying right now seems to be, oh, this guy is a ball knower. This guy knows ball. Yeah. That's the saying I've been hearing a lot lately. And these kids are showing that they're watching football and they're learning and they're trying to model their games after players and whatnot. And we're getting some good answers when Rick asked that question. So Rick, don't forget that question. Keep that one coming each week. So moving forward, Chris, this is by the numbers. So just take us through some of the big numbers from the week, some milestones, anything that you came across that stood out to you in terms of milestones, performances, and whatnot. Take us through it.
Yeah, so we had another record broken this past week. Mainland's Nate Cashy became the state's all-time leader in extra points made. The record now stands at 200 and counting because I'm expecting Mainland to score a good amount more touchdowns this year. He's also had the UPenn, so not too far away. Had an Ivy League. Pretty good setup for him there. Mainland having scored all those touchdowns, especially as a freshman. I think he was eighth grade technically, right when he first came up at the Battle at the Beach a couple of years ago. When I think Mainland played Egg Harbor Township there at Battle at the Beach. I could be wrong also, but don't quote me on that. But regardless, that Mainland team that year, that was like everyone broke out. Jamie Tyson, Cohen Cook, Johnny Franchini got that start like pretty much the day of. Nate Cashy, the Mainland teams that we've known the past couple of years, that was the start. And I mean, Cashy's probably one of the last guys of that core that was around then. We also had 3 pretty significant rivalries, one of the classic rivalries that we've had in the past couple of years in South Jersey. We had East at West, or Cherry Hill East at Cherry Hill West, Kingsway at Clearview, and Triton at Highland, also known as the Backyard Brawl. And the home teams went 1-2 in those matchups. East and Kingsway came away with the wins. East and Kingsway both outscored Cherry Hill West and Clearview combined 112-7. Triton was the only home team that won 21-7 in their rivalry matchup.
So some pretty lopsided results there. Before we move on, I want to spin back to Mainland there. You mentioned Nate Cashy being a member of that core that obviously went on to go win a state championship. They were 14-0 that one year, being a part of that. And obviously that contributes to him becoming the all-time leader in extra points made. They were scoring a lot.
It goes hand in hand, essentially.
Absolutely.
You score the touchdowns, sorry, Nate, I don't want to say it, almost pretty much automatic, essentially. So, they were blowing teams out that year. I mean, they were scoring 7-8 touchdowns almost, it seems like. So right there, you think about that, you're 5, 6, 7, 8 extra points right there each week. That's going to contribute to your senior year. Hey, I got 200 now. I'm the state record holder. Yeah,
absolutely, and it's still going strong. And I also wanted to talk about Mainland again because, that's a team that, as we said, won a state championship. They play in the difficult West Jersey Football League American Division. I was at a game earlier this year. I was talking to an official, and he was like, "Oh, who are the teams to watch in Group 3 this year?" And I mentioned teams who were doing well, the Cedar Creek, the Burlington Townships of the world and whatnot. And I was like, can't count out Mainland. I said, they're playing a tough schedule. I said, come playoff time, they'll be ready. And he was like, all right, we'll see. And I'm like, we'll see. I was like, I know they're ready to go.
They got Franchini.
That schedule's going to help them. So
they got Franchini, they got a Blum, they got Cashy, they got DiBiaso. So, I mean, but I have the older brothers, but they still got the guys. So, I mean.
Absolutely. So they're battle testing. I think that's a team you got to watch out. That's a team I wouldn't want to see on my side of the bracket if I was playing in Group 3, knowing the pedigree that they have, the experience they have playing that time of year, and they still have guys part of that core. So, Rick, I see kind of motioning to us there. We got our next guest ready to go.
Yes, sir.
So before we bring in our next guest, why don't we just, give a little background here. Our next guest is going to be Washington Township head coach Mike Schatzman. Washington Township currently ranked number 7 in the state, number 2 in South Jersey, and number 2 ranked public school in the entire state. Washington Township's 7-0 record, hosting Gloucester County foe Kingsway tomorrow, who is 6-1, West Jersey Football League Classic Division matchup. Huge game with division title implications and also playoff implications. Consensus South Jersey game of the week, D2 Sports Network game of the week. It's our game of the week. It's everybody's game of the week. Washington Township has won 2 of the last 5 matchups in 2023 and 2024. Kingsway has won 9 of the last 11. So tide's starting to turn into favor of Washington Township right now. The winner clinches sole possession of the West Jersey Football League Classic Division, as we said. So sort of gives them the foot up in the division title race. So Washington Township has been a big story this year. They just had a huge win against Rancocas Valley, 38-17. It's a team a lot of people are talking about. So we're extremely happy to have Coach Schatzman on the night to talk about, one of the best teams in the state right now. We have Coach Schatzman on the line.
What's up, guys? How are you?
We're good. How are you? Thanks for joining us. We appreciate you taking the time out of your night to join us. As we said, huge matchup tomorrow against Kingsway at home. I know it's homecoming. I know the cannons are going to be firing. A couple weeks ago, we had James Melody on the show from Cedar Creek, and he was talking about how they're one of the few divisions that has, Cedar Creek has Atlantic City in a division, Hamilton, Holy Spirit, Ocean City. It's exclusively a Cape Atlantic League division. You guys play in a division with Kingsway, Williamstown, Delsea, and in a day and age where there's not a lot of traditional neighborhood rivalries anymore and stuff like that, for you guys to still be in a division that has matchups like this, a matchup that we're going to see tomorrow, how special is that? And being that, I know you're a Washington Township guy, if I'm not mistaken, how special is that to, still be able to play these neighborhood rivalries and still have that true high school football feel?
Yeah, I think it makes high school football what it is, to be honest with you. When I did play at Township in the mid 2000s, we were in the Olympic American. So Kingsway was a smaller school at that point. Williamstown was a smaller school, so we didn't really have the opportunity to play those guys. But when I got back when I started my coaching career, it was like, Williamstown was on the schedule, day game, and then obviously recently Kingsway over the last 10 years or so. and Delsey, who we didn't play, I think, until from the '70s. I think our last time we played Delsey. Really looks bus ride that and get an opportunity to get a chance to know each other. County now and other sports, so they get a chance to compete with each other and wrestling, basketball, baseball, lacrosse, track and field. So it's pretty cool to see that, and we had with, I would say, the 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 Let It Be the Cherokees, the Shawnees, the Easterns back in the day, when we were the old Olympic American. But the tides have kind of turned a little bit, and yeah, I think it's a kind of a new wave, and it's been fun for sure.
And obviously, you guys had a huge win against Rancocas Valley last week, 38-17. I know it's a game you guys had circled on the calendar, being last year. They came down to your guys' place, defeated you 27-0. Going into the year, everyone's talking, okay, Washington Township, Rancocas Valley, these are the two teams to beat in South Jersey Group 5. So to be able to have a win like that, a dominant win, was the epitome of a statement win. How were you guys able to prepare for that game, and what just worked well for you guys to be able to put up 38 points on a very good team like that and come out with the statement win?
Yeah, I think we're familiar with each other. We've RV over the last handful of years. Our staff's familiar with each other. We actually friend and shot field on a clinic each summer, and when Gary kind of and the summer 2-day camp and field and the team there, and it was just we're trying to build and kind of bounce ideas off each other and get a chance to compete a little bit. And then obviously over the last couple of years, it's turned into a little bit more of a rivalry because again, we are so familiar with each other. The kids at the youth level, RV has a really good youth program similar to ours, so they get a chance to see each other. When they're at the younger ages in the youth organization. So yeah, it's developed over time, and yeah, it was definitely nice to see. Yeah, there was definitely a revenge factor. I think whenever you get beat by somebody the year prior, especially the way they beat us, they outplayed us in every phase last year. So I know that was in the back of our kids' minds. Uh, but we're a little bit different team. We're experienced. We have a lot of guys back from last year. So yeah, it was really nice to see our guys execute and play really well in that environment at their place, which is a tough place to play. So yeah, I mean, hats off to them. They've kind of battled some injuries throughout the course of the year. It was good to see their quarterback back and playing, even though obviously he was a little bit limited as far as his feet are concerned. But it's nice to see, two Group 5 schools going at it on a Friday night, and there's obviously the possibility of us seeing each other again, which has been a little bit more.
Coach, you there?
Yes.
Coach,
You hear me?
Yeah, your Wi-Fi is going in and out a little bit. We just missed the last part of that.
Yeah, I was just kind of mentioning, the possibility of playing each other again in the Group 5 playoffs, and if that's something that you hate to see each other twice because again you're so familiar with each other. It's almost it's almost when you try to stay away from each other, and hopefully you meet in a situation where it's a state semifinals or a final, or where there's definitely a little bit more meaning behind it. But yeah, it's definitely exciting to see that kind of come into fruition over the last couple of years. We've kind of both been in that building stage. So yeah, it's good for us for sure.
And Coach, I know Washington Township is obviously, you guys are 7-0, and as we mentioned, number 7 in the state, number 2 public school in the entire state, number 2 in South Jersey. Sort of like a golden age right now, being you guys won a sectional championship last year, first sectional championship since 1996. The program is trending in the right direction. When I was growing up, I was a baseball guy. We used to have to go down and play Washington Township in baseball all the time. Wasn't always a fun experience. Had some good teams. We won a couple games down there, lost a couple games. So I always knew them as a baseball town. obviously football doing very well right now. How special is it to be able to take ownership of that? Not just you, but you, your assistant coaches, the players. I know there's a lot of seniors on this team, a good core right here that I imagine have been playing together for a very long time. How special is it to be able to take ownership of that and be able to represent Washington Township in such a huge way?
Yeah, I think when we took over in 2018, there was just we were going off of 3 coaches in 3 years. There wasn't a whole lot of consistency. So the purpose for us, the main objective was to try to build that continuity and that consistency on a year-to-year basis, and build a relationship with our youth kids. And we knew that we were going to have some tough times early on. Just based on the schedule that we play, and the guys that we had back. And but there was definitely building blocks there in those early years where we had some sort of signature win, or play somebody off that was a playoff team, or a sectional team. So it definitely is there, and something that me I'm really excited about. And our environment on Friday night is really awesome. They get a chance that it does bring. And everybody talks about the cannon, and I know as a kid growing up in town, hearing the cannon was a part of your Friday night. Whether you're out to dinner, whether you're laying on your couch, you heard the cannon, and you get a pretty good idea, how well the team's doing. So there's definitely some good years there in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, where people definitely had that pride and in the program. And we're just trying to bring that back. And I try to surround myself with guys that if we're either a part of that, live in our town, involved with our program in some form or other, which is something they generally care about the kids, and not just kids in general, but the Washington Township kids, which I think makes a big difference, especially at the high school level. So that's been a huge part for me, at least, to bring that sense of pride back to the program and to the school and to the community.
And coach, you're talking about the pride. Kev, you stole my question too. But you're talking about the sense of pride and things like that. And I just looked to your youth program. I mean, we're looking at Cole and some of the other guys that have come through the youth program and have decided to stay home. What has been the switch, or what has been your model to get those guys to want to stay home? Because a little bit in before you came, guys were going to some of the private schools and things like that. But what has been the key to keeping those guys at home?
Yeah, I think for me, I think growing up there was a huge part of it. I remember when Tom Brown was the head coach, and anytime that come down to the youth field, whether it was a practice or a game, you just that sense of like, that's Tom Brown. Like it was such a big deal to see somebody like that, and see high school kids, come to the games or come to practices, and get a chance to go on Friday night and watch those guys walk out of the locker room. Was like, there was 200 kids in the program, so it was, those were kind of those golden years there. And it was just a sense of like, there's where I want to be. Like when I get to high school, I want to play there. So we try to really model a lot of the things that Coach Brown did in the late 80s and the 90s, 2000s, where it was just that presence of, hey, we're going to be really good year in and year out. Building a relationship with those kids, the seniors that we have now. I got a chance to know when they were 6, 7 years old. So, seeing those guys come to our youth camp in the summer, we started a middle school youth lifting program, strength and conditioning program, where kids come 2 days a week during the month of, during the winter and the spring. And we have anywhere from like 35 to 45 kids on a day-to-day basis that, make a priority to get over to our weight room and get a chance to work out in our facility and see the things that we have going on. And the most important thing is really building a relationship with me, our staff, getting a chance to kind of know me, because I think any coach and, people in town, there's always, this coach is like this. I heard this about this coach. So now they get like a kind of up close and personal experience with me, and they get a chance to see how I am and how I interact with them, and how I'm excited for them to come up. And we still lose our kids here and there. That's part of the business, but for the most part, I think um, you know we've made that attempt to try to keep as many kids here as possible, and I think it's gotten to the point now where kids are kind of like, well, can I play here? Like we got 140 kids in the program, 45 plus freshmen. So it kind of comes to that question next is like, can I be a part of this? Am I talented enough to do it? So, that's another thing obstacle we got to kind of clear. But yeah, I think that was probably the biggest thing that we've done. Visiting the middle schools each year, having different freshman orientations and building that relationship with not only the kids, but the parents, because we all know the parents are making decisions too. So, being from town and a lot of the parents now I either, grew up with or, might be a little bit older than me, grew up with my
Mhm.
sister, my cousins. So they know me or they know members of our staff. So I think that building that trust with them is important that, hey, your kid's in good hands. We're going to take care of them. We're going to develop them. And we're going to focus on not only the football aspect, but we want them to be good students. We want them to be obviously good people when they leave Washington Township. So I think that's been a huge, huge part of our success. And it took a lot of time. Believe me,
Yeah.
it was not easy. It didn't happen overnight. And yeah, we've been having this one circle for a while this year because we knew that the kids were talented and they all stuck together, which has been fun.
Listen, Kev, you were speaking about Township as a baseball team, a baseball town. I came as a freshman in 1994. And my first high school experience was playing against the Marching 300. It was like Sparta. Like, I mean, it was eye opening for me as a freshman playing on varsity or getting a little bit of reps on varsity and seeing the size and the sheer number of players that Township had. Like, it was when Coach says it was about 200, he's not. That's no exaggeration. And to see Township to get back to those numbers, I definitely see them getting back to their old form where they were. And I'm not saying that you guys aren't already there or entering there, but Township was like you're playing Township. It was a powerhouse. You know what I'm saying? And I know for a while it kind of got off the rails, but Coach got it back on track. And one of the ways that we saw it, and the reason why we had them ranked so high, was because we got to see them in our 7-on-7, and the way that they competed. See, and I'm gonna say this: the way that we evaluate teams, and I kind of talk to the group chat in the way that I kind of think is, if Township is out here competing in a 7-on-7 with some of the teams that they were competing with, the East Sides and the Cedar Creeks, Winslow, teams like that in a passing league, when that's not 100, that's not most of Township's game. When you introduce the running aspect into that, that's going to even the playing field with some of those teams. So it just, that's the kind of way that we evaluate it, and that's why we kind of off the bat rank, Township is one of the best programs in the state. And just to see that you guys are going out handling business, and you guys are the wins that you're supposed to get, you're getting. And even sometimes when you are a ranked team or a highly ranked team, you are going to have a couple games where you're not on your A game, but you still find a way to pull that out. I'm just getting to the question of the pressure of knowing that you guys are one of the best teams, and the media from us and wherever it may come from. How are you balancing that, and what advice are you kind of giving to your team, and what direction are you taking them in to kind of kill the noise, so to say?
Yeah, it's kind of funny you mentioned that. We're just talking about this as a staff. Uh, it's a lot easier when you're not. so good, to be honest with you. As far as the expectations, the pressure, um, and not that we feel that. I mean, we're confident in our kids and our staff as far as preparing them. Uh, but yeah, when you have no expectations placed on you and you're kind of going out there, and if you win, it's great. If you don't win, people don't expect you to win. But now there's obviously that expectation of not only do you want to win, but it's like, well, how many points are you going to win by? And that's what is the difference here. Even over the last couple of years, we've had success, but it's like you're supposed to beat that team by
Mm-hmm.
28. You're supposed
Yep.
to be up by 40 at half. And we've been fortunate to be in some situations where we've had games where our starters didn't play the second half, which has allowed us to get a lot of the guys that really are good players that would probably be varsity players in a lot of situations. They've gotten an opportunity to play in the second half or the fourth quarter of a lot of games. So having those opportunities to see those kids. But yeah, I mean, I think it's fun. I think we beat Millville 21-10. Like Millville's probably won just as many games as anybody in New Jersey over the last 6-7 years,
That's a
right?
fact. Yep.
And I get on. I was like, oh, it was only 21-10. I'm like, yeah, we played Millville. Like, I don't know if you've been around, but like, they're a pretty talented crew. So
Right.
it's that which I don't look at it as a knock. It's more or less what you mentioned, the expectation of it. But our kids really, I don't think they're really fazed by it. I think they've had so much success from youth to freshman to sub varsity or JV to varsity level that they're almost like accustomed to that.
Mm-hmm.
And they have that confidence about them, and that that swagger, as the kids would say about them, that they expect to win, they expect to do well, and when they don't, the biggest thing that I had questions with going into this year was, well, if we don't have success at times, how do we react to those things?
Mm-hmm.
And RV kind of punched us in the mouth a little bit last Friday in the second quarter, and our kids responded really well, and that's the kind of things that you want to see at this point, with this crew. But yeah, I don't feel like they feel it. I don't have that sense that they feel the pressures on them. But the expectations are obviously high from everybody. People that
Mm-hmm.
really don't follow us or haven't followed us, they're hopping on the bandwagon, and they want to see us in action. And a lot of the alumni that I talk to on a regular basis they're so excited and fired up. And now the debate is, are they better than the 92 team? Are they better than the 95 team? So there's all that questions of like, they bring back the glory days there.
Yeah.
But our kids, I think, in reality, they're kids, and they're really. It seems like they're focused on one game at a time, and it's nice to play the schedule that we play because you don't have a whole lot of time to think about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what you did. We beat RV Sunday morning. We're back in action. We're getting ready for Kingsway, who's obviously a tremendous program, and Coach Hendricks is an awesome coach. And they're gonna look to knock us off, which we're gonna get their best shot, and that's how it's been ever since we played them. So I think our kids look forward to that and that new challenge each week, and hopefully that continues.
Yeah. And this group, the senior group, has won a championship on every level,
Yes, yeah.
from youth ball all the way up. I've been following this group for, I mean, very, very long time. I remember when I believe it was Cole first started playing quarterback. That's how long I've been watching them, and seeing them win on every level has been impressive. And that winning culture is something that helps, the whole program as a whole to get back on track. And we were talking about it last night with Coach Mack and Mark in here. We were just talking about how hard it is to win football games. I don't think people really understand that part of the game. They just think, oh, you got a talented team, you should win. Well, it's a lot that goes into winning, managing that talent. How does that talent respond to you as coaching and things like that? And Township has been able to do it. They back in the spotlight, game of the week. It's going to be one of those tomorrow, 7 p.m. Make sure y'all get y'all tickets. Get there early. Don't miss the fireworks and the cannons.
Bring a hoodie too. It's starting to get chilly out.
Oh, yeah. Definitely bring a hoodie. Definitely bring a hoodie.
Yes, Chris,
Yeah, it will be. We got homecoming tomorrow night, Spirit Parade, so it will be jam packed tomorrow night. So,
You got extra long
yeah, if you're
halftime
coming, make sure you get there. Get there a little early.
Got the 20-minute halftime tomorrow night for the homecoming parade.
Yeah, we'll have
announcements
a
and all
20-minute. Yeah, we'll have a 20-minute halftime. Yeah, we'll have
I
a
know what's
20-minute
coming.
halftime.
Head in
So
the snack
they
stand
do
at
a
the
pretty good
halftime.
job of regulating.
Yeah, I mean that's what high school football is all about, though. I mean, you got the band, the cheerleaders, the alumni. That's all part of it too. So that's definitely awesome. And this is, I don't know if there's any better game to host homecoming against Kingsway. So, Coach, we appreciate you taking time out of your night to join us. Obviously, a huge game tomorrow. Consensus South Jersey game of the week. We wish you guys luck from not only for tomorrow but the rest of the way. As I say to everyone, congratulations on what you guys have accomplished already, and good luck the rest of the way because I know you guys have bigger goals. Rick mentioning that this group has won a championship on every level. So I know this year, the way things are going, a state championship is the ultimate goal, and you guys are capable of reaching that goal. So we wish you guys the best of luck the rest of the way. And again, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, appreciate you guys. Appreciate what you guys do for South Jersey football. It's awesome. So keep at it. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Coach.
you very much.
You got it.
Yeah, Rick. So, I mean, he's like you mentioned, I mean, you said they've won a championship on every level. I was unaware of that. And obviously, this is a team, as I just mentioned, undefeated, 7-0 record. They are the team to beat in Group 5, not only in South Jersey, but New Jersey right now. As I mentioned, they are the number 2 ranked public team in the state.
Mhm.
Only team ahead of them right now is Winslow.
Mhm.
Winslow defending Group 4 state champion. So, Washington Township don't even got to worry about seeing Winslow or anything like that.
No.
So, they're the team to beat in Group 5.
They definitely are, and it feels good when you're kind of, we were kind of ahead of the curve, man.
Yeah.
With this, like, we really evaluated a lot of the teams that are in the rankings. That's why our rankings haven't been shuffling very, very much, but they have done what they're supposed to do, and that is really hard to do into today's football era, right? You get a lot of kids that want to transfer, they're not seeing the ball. You'll get a kid leave after 2 games in this era of football, and to just see them pick up where they left off last year and to keep it going and to be noticed as one of the best programs in the state is just a testament to the hard work. I remember, I like to, think back to when Coach got there. I remember them redoing the weight room like when they first got there. You know what I'm saying? Like seeing what the weight room looked like, and you go there and look at the new weight room that they have now, and you can see where it started to where it is now, and how like it's back to being township, the football program. Like when people said township, it was only one township. It was in from the era that I came up. I can't speak to the last couple of years, but it was no thought of a Burlington. This is no disrespect to Burlington Township football or anything, but I'm just speaking from when I was coming up and how it used to be. When people said township, you knew they were talking about Washington Township. It was no Washington in front of township. It was just township.
A lot of their jerseys in sports would just simply say TWP.
It's like you said, it's a brand. That's what it was. That's how successful they were. That's how good they were. That's how, you know what I mean? That's how that program was. And to see it getting back is good. You know what I'm saying? I'm a guy that like change. I don't mind change, but I'm a guy too that is a little traditional as well. And I like to see some of the traditional programs still have that pop, like that feel. You know what I mean? If that makes sense at all.
Absolutely. And to build on your point that you mentioned, seeing them in 7-on-7, seeing what they could do, and then having to factor in, okay, when they get onto the real field, we're going to insert this line. We're going to insert a run game. Give you guys a little inside look on a journalist job. Each year going into the season, it's my responsibility to text coaches, email coaches, be like, hey, give me a roster when you can. one of the first things I personally look at when a coach responds to me, and obviously, you know, we're around football so much, so we already have an idea of who's bringing back who. We know a lot of guys, so we're talking to people behind the scenes. We're like, okay, this team's got this guy coming in. They lost this guy to graduation. This guy transferred. One of the biggest things I look at, and this goes for any level of football, first thing I'm looking at is how experienced are you? How good are you up front? And I know going into last year, Washington Township brought back a lot of guys up front. They were experienced. A lot of starters returning on offensive line. And this Washington Township we're talking about, this is a team like, you know, over the years we talk about teams like Cherokee. How Cherokee is always massive up front. Washington Township, when they have dudes, they have dudes. They are massive up front.
John Stone, some you know, recent memory. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean?
And that's really what's powering them right now. I mean, they have tremendous players everywhere. They got an experienced quarterback, as you mentioned, great skill position guys. Colin Beeler powers that run game. The defense is great, but they're so experienced in the trenches. And defensively, their front seven is so good. That's why they're at where they're at right now. And also another point I want to make, not to drift off topic, but you mentioning how I said I knew him as a baseball talent and you knowing him as football. And that was like, you're like, welcome to varsity moment. When I competed against them, as I said, in baseball, I used to be amazed by, obviously Washington Township is a very populated area. For the longest, they had the most students in their school of any school in South Jersey. We played them when I was in middle school and travel. And we had one team in our age group of our organization. It was just us. It was our team from our town. They had 3 teams in one age group. Most programs had an A team and a B team.
Right.
They had an A, B, and C, and all of them were good. We played the B team the most. We played them 3 times, beat them twice. We actually beat them at the Trent Thunder Stadium. But we played the A team, and their pitcher was throwing 85 miles an hour. Now, you know, if there's any baseball people watching, you know, you see that in high school nowadays, you know, and not everywhere. I mean, there's some guys in South Jersey, legit guys who were throwing in the 90s and stuff like that, but not every day you see 85. We were in middle school, we seen 85, and that was like even though I wasn't in high school, like my welcome to varsity moment, like I don't even know if I like baseball anymore.
right.
But, and I remember my friend's dad saying, he was like, that's what you guys are going to see in high school. And I was like, oh. And then obviously once we got to high school and we started seeing 85, it was, you know, you were accustomed to it. But it's funny because Washington Township, like that was my first moment playing baseball. Like, yo, this is legit competition.
I didn't go into the whole story of my welcome to varsity moment, but it was, you know, playing receiver, catching a curl route and, you know, trying to do something with it, turn up field, and I get the wake up call that we all get, right? We all remember that we all remember that was my welcome to varsity moment. Fumbled the ball, you know, Coach Green at the time, who put the freshman in? That was, I'm hearing it while I'm laying on the ground. Like, who put him in? You know what I mean? I didn't get back in the rest of that little game there, but yeah, it was one of them, man. Township is back on track. It's going to be an exciting game tomorrow. I think Kingsway is going to come ready to play. Kind of leaning Township in this one, but I wouldn't be surprised if Kingsway. I wouldn't be surprised if they pulled it out, but we need to. I'm just sitting here thinking as I'm talking. It's by the numbers. Maybe we should do. Now we can't do that. I was going to say maybe we should do point spreads or something, but we can't do that. We can't.
Well, if you go check out our website, subscribe, you'll be able to see subscriber exclusive stories. There's a point prediction there. I wrote it, so if I'm wrong, you guys come at me. Don't bring these guys into it. I'm gonna shield them, secure them. There's my article, so you guys can tune in. There's some numbers involved there.
Okay.
So
We'll do that.
We got it covered.
We'll look at it next week, see how close it was. You know what I mean? Maybe we could do that. Something along those lines. Just talk about it, some score predictions or something like that.
We'll do it like that. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Cool. We'll see what happens. But moving forward, obviously it was great having Coach Schatzman on, and earlier in the show having Tamir Rex from Atlantic City. A couple other big games that we'll be at this weekend or we'll be watching. Chris, we just want to take us through some of those big games you're looking at?
Yeah, so just to preface already, 2 of these games are already being played or have finished already as the time of this filming. It is Thursday. I know we usually film on Tuesday, but a couple ailments here and there, a couple obstacles. Got through that. Glad Rod's feeling better. So I do want to preface 2 of these games have already been played and are essentially already final. So starting off with one of those games, Gloucester at Haddonfield. Right now, I'm looking at about a half hour ago. After 3 quarters, Haddonfield was up 38-7. They got up 38-0. So the clock is, I'm assuming, is still running heading into the 4th quarter. Another game we got is Eastside at Shawnee. That's a game I kind of look at as 2 physical teams. Eastside's only up and up after last year. I mean, obviously 0 wins. You can't have any less wins than that. So right now this year they're at 3-4, and they're headed to Shawnee, who is 4-3. Shawnee, I'm not sure if they're wearing their brand new black with the Columbia blue stripe uniforms, which were very nice. I saw a couple weeks ago. Shawnee's won 3 of the last 5 matchups, pretty much 3 straight matchups, 2022, 2023, and 2024. Eastside last won a pair of matchups when they were still Woodrow Wilson in 2019 and 2020. Winner of this game kind of keeps themselves in the hunt for that West Jersey Football League Colonial Division title. I know right now at the top it is Camden and RV, but since they both have losses in the division, this game could still kind of keep those 2 afloat in that division race. We also have another divisional matchup here. Seneca at Paulus 6 in the West Jersey Football League Continental Division. Paulus 6 has won 4 of the last 5 matchups in 2014, 2015, 2023, which is I'm pretty sure that was a 12-7 thriller. I remember at Seneca. I remember a lot of people were at that. And 2024 last year. Seneca last won in 2022. They won 23-7. Winner puts themselves in essentially the passenger seat with Pleasantville this weekend. If Pleasantville comes out with a win in their game over Willingboro. We have another old-time Colonial Conference matchup, like we mentioned before. West Deptford at Paulsboro. Another one of those Colonial Conference matchups you think, like we mentioned with West Deptford at Haddonfield. Another one of those where wrestling, baseball, basketball, football. You think of Colonial Conference, you think of this matchup.
Absolutely. The Mayor's Cup, as they call it. And that's the one I'll be at. West Deptford 6-1 at Paulsboro 7-0 Saturday, 11 a.m. These 2 teams have played 22 times the past 22 years, I believe. They might not have played the COVID year. No, they did play the COVID year. Yeah. West Deptford has won 13 of the last 22. Paulsboro has won 5 of the last 7, though. 26 combined sectional titles between these 2 teams. 19 for Paulsboro and South Jersey Group 1, 7 for West Deptford and South Jersey Group 2. 107 combined playoff wins. And I believe you just mentioned this. Winner takes over full control of the West Jersey Football League Patriot Division. So that's, huge ramifications for the division. West Deptford last won in 2023, as you have here, 14-13. And last year, Paulsboro rallied from a 12-0 deficit to win 18-12 in overtime. And a lot of guys are back on both sides of the ball. So I'm really excited for this game. This is, as I said when I was previewing our story that we have out this week currently on d2sportsnetwork.com, highlighting some of the big games this week. I mentioned that this matchup here pretty much epitomizes South Jersey football and just rivalries in high school football.
Yeah.
I mean, 2 teams that are traditionally strong in their respective groups that have a lot of history behind each other. And what's interesting about this matchup is we talk about the matchups that are traditional Thanksgiving matchups. The Vineland and Millville is like a nationally known one for how long it's been around and whatnot. The interesting thing about Paulsboro and West Deptford is it is a former Thanksgiving weekend matchup, but they rarely ever played on Thanksgiving, at least in the 21st century, because most of the time both of them were playing for a sectional title. So they made an agreement, kind of a mutual agreement, to kind of push the game back because both of them were just coming off semifinal wins, which just, as I said, speaks to that rivalry and speaks to how good both programs have been. Obviously, John Emmel, who was at Pennsgrove before, has played Paulsboro a lot. Now he's at West Deptford and gets to be a part of that rivalry. And then Paulsboro, led by Kevin Harvey, who is recognized by most people as the best South Jersey high school football player of all time. Glenn Howard led there for a long time up until his retirement just a few years ago. Kevin Harvey stepped right back in. And Paulsboro is a team who they struggled, as most programs do when you bring in a new coach. There's a lot of youth, there's growing pains and whatnot. As Coach Schatzman said when he first took over at Washington Township, there's just some stuff you have to go through, a growing phase you have to go through, building that foundation.
Yeah, I'm stepping in for Glenn Howard.
Yeah, I mean, those are big shoes to fill. Yeah,
that's not light. Having the expectations of, all right, well, we've won these many sectional titles under this coach in X amount of years, you better do it too. You played for him. You know what to do. Here's the blueprint. You do it.
Absolutely.
And most of the times when coaches exit, they're not exiting with a loaded team that they know is coming back.
Exactly.
They know it's kind of get ready to take a little dip. It might be time for me to roll. So that's
Exactly.
why that little period of being down is there for a year or two until it goes back up. But this is one of those ones, man. Paulsboro, West Defford. Paulsboro's undefeated. West Defford only has one loss, I believe, to Haddonfield. This is a key, like you said, for the division and just for bragging rights, right?
Yeah.
You know, they see each other down at the Wendy's or the Wawa down there while they getting gas. It's bragging rights, man. When you see somebody that's that close to you, it's a rivalry. So obviously you want to go out there and you want to represent your town and team to the utmost. So.
Yeah. And like you mentioned, hey, it's by the numbers. And you said seeing him in the York Wawa, separated by 6.2 miles. You just head right up 295, or you could even take Route 44 there. But another thing about this, I mean, I just keep emphasizing how this is a traditional South Jersey rivalry that epitomizes high school football rivalries. I'm excited to go see this game because, you know, there's the Friday Night Lights thing that goes with high school football. Me, I still love a traditional Saturday morning game in a small town on grass. There's nothing like it. That I guarantee you, the entire town of Paulsboro is going to be there. Most of West Defford's going to be there. That's another. It's a small, two smaller schools: Paulsboro Group 1, West Defford Group 2. But as we were saying, Washington Township, Kingsway, you got to get there early. You got to get here early too. You're going to be parking on that grass field, and you're going to have to take a little bit of walk up to. We just talking about Glenn Howard, the stadium that's named after him now. So definitely looking forward to that one.
I might go, man, because that's an early morning. Maybe I could get the coffee, get the good breakfast sandwich. You know what I mean? Walk up, watch the game. In the game, get a nice little. I don't eat the glizzies, so I gotta, maybe we'll do a hamburger or something like that. But yeah, that might be the move Saturday morning.
Kickoff for you, yeah.
Might be the move.
That's that perfect start time too. So you get in. It's not too early. It's not too late.
Right.
So if you got things you got to do in the afternoon, so if you're looking for something to do Saturday morning, make sure to stop by Paulsboro High School to see West Defford at Paulsboro. So moving on, just a couple other notable matchups I want to speak on before we go. Ocean City at Holy Spirit, another matchup this weekend. Two teams that tend to play each other very close. Ocean City, a program sort of going through some growing pains themselves, but they're still competitive. 3-3 right now. Holy Spirit has won 3 of the last 3 meetings in that series since 2010. But last year they squared off. Holy Spirit won 15-13. It was a good game, and both these teams are going to come out ready to compete, ready to win. Both teams expect to win. So that's a game to keep your eye on. A game if you're in the Atlantic County area and need something to do on Friday night, go check out Ocean City at Holy Spirit in Absecon. Another game that I don't think a lot of people will be talking about but deserves some recognition is Kip Cooper Norcross Academy of Camden and Holy Cross Prep, Delran, Route 130. Two teams that have met twice since Kip introduced their football program. They played twice. Their first meeting was 2 years ago in a NJSIA crossover, and then last year they played in a divisional matchup. They're both in the West Jersey Football League United Division. Holy Cross won both games by a combined 16 points. So they've been closely contested matchups. Both teams this year off to good starts. Kip is 4-2. Holy Cross is 4-3. Kip has won 4 out of its last 5. Holy Cross is on a 3-game skid right now, but they started off the season 4-0. I'm expecting this to be a good game in Delran Friday night at 6 p.m. Friday night, thinking about if I can get out tomorrow. This is the one I think I want to go see. Delsea at Williamstown. Williamstown, as I've said plenty of times on this show, I've mentioned it in the comments on Mark Tribble's show. Williamstown is one of the best places to watch a game in South Jersey, especially when Williamstown is good. I mean, this will be a discussion for another day because I know we're getting a little carried away here and we're short on time, but Williamstown, when they were in their prime a couple of years ago, that's probably the best high school team locally I've covered. It was just, they're one of those teams, as I mentioned, in Atlantic City. It's just better when they're good. Yeah. And it's a great place to catch a game. But they're a team, as I mentioned, going into the year. They were an under-radar team. They have 2 big back-to-back wins over Rancocas Valley and Cherokee. They're trending in the right direction. With a young team, as the playoffs are nearing, they host Delsea this week. They're separated by 6.9 miles via County Route 612, Williamstown Road at one point, Franklinville, Williamstown Road at another point, Clayton Avenue, all them Gloucester County names. I don't know what the official name of it is, but we'll call it the battle for Williamstown Franklinville Road, I guess, to give both teams some kind of representation. They've only met once, though, since 2010, even though they're so close to each other, and they've both been very good teams over the years. And that one time was last year, a 35-6 win for Delsey. Williamstown won 4 straight, though, from 2006 to 2009. And as we mentioned, with Paulsboro and West Deptford having a lot of combined success, these are 2 other programs. 19 sectional titles combined. Delsey carrying the weight a little bit, though, with 16 of those. Obviously, they have ran the table in South Jersey Group 3 for a lot of years.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, Williamstown, though, has won 3 sectional titles. As I mentioned, some great teams there with Aaron Lewis, Donovan Ezra, who's playing for the Dallas Cowboys right now. His younger brother on the team making an impact right now. So definitely a player to look out for, as well as Trey Alexander, Tyson Foreman, a lot of good young players that they're building with there. 52 playoff appearances combined between these 2 teams. That's what I'm looking forward to. If I'm able to get out tomorrow night, it's probably where I'll be. So I'm looking forward to a good game there. So, I mean, that's pretty much it. And also, let me not forget, thinking I'm in Friday night mode. We have one more game to keep an eye on. Rancocas Valley at St. Augustine. Now, I know Rancocas Valley right now, 3 straight losses, having lost to Camden, getting upset by Williamstown, and then losing to Washington Township last week. Savian Adams slowly getting back up to speed. I know Ricky Doppler's been banged up for them. This is a team, as I just mentioned, 3 straight losses. A lot of people might be out on them right now in the moment, but this is a team we still shouldn't count out. They were in a sectional title last year. They had those similar aspirations coming in this year. They're a very good team when they're at full strength. They're going to learn from those losses. And last year, they hosted St. Augustine. We're down 14-3 in the second quarter and rallied for a win. And just talking to some guys behind the scenes, they're pretty fired up for this game, being that it's a get-right spot for them. And I know they sort of feel like now that this time they're going to be away from – last year they hosted, as I said, on a Saturday in Mount Holly. They've been playing a lot of games at home the past couple of weeks. They're kind of looking forward to getting away and having an opportunity to just not be in that local hometown spotlight, just going down there in Richland, where there's really no cell service. Not that matters. They're not going to be on their phones, but just to kind of emphasize how much of a, remote area it is, just kind of being out the spotlight, even though it's going to be in the spotlight, it's a big game, but just being down there in a business only, just looking forward to, getting the job done. So I think that's a game. You can't look past St. Augustine. They're 5-1. They've won 2 in a row. 2 great teams. I think that's a game a lot of people are sort of overlooking right now because they see what Rancocas Valley's doing or what they've done, over the past 3 weeks. But it's definitely a game to keep your eye on. It should be a good game that should come down to the wire.
One of those games you really can't overlook.
Exactly.
I mean, as much as people say RV is down the last couple of weeks, I'll say this for RV, it's an extremely important game because they have lost their last 2 games, right? Losing 3 in a row.
They have lost 3 in a row. They're trying to avoid 4 in a row right now. Yes,
so you're absolutely right. It was Camden, Williamstown, and then Washington Township. Now they play RV. I mean, they play St. Augustine. So trying not to lose 4 in a row. That's almost, when you think about it, if you play 10 games, that's almost half of your games that you've lost, right? So you don't want to be on that side of it. We understand that, you were out some key players, but the old saying goes back to this, and this is for all the players. This is not us trying to disrespect or, go at anybody. I just want to make that clear, and to coaches as well. When you're talking about a game and you're talking about a sport, right? The old saying goes, nobody cares, right? We your enemies, your opponents, the minute you step in between those white lines, whatever's going on with your team, nobody cares, right? So trying to avoid that 4 in a row, trying to be back to where you are and where people really believe that you are as far as the type of team that you guys are, I think it's time to make that stride and that jump to kind of get back into the win column. I'm not sure who they play next week.
They have Lenape next week, and then they'll go into the playoffs from there. So it's an opportunity to get right this week
back on track
and get back on track. And if they're able to go into the playoffs with 2 straight wins or I mean, that's their intention. You know, you go in every game expecting to win. Even if they go 1-1 over that stretch, I think they'll go into the playoffs. And as I said, I think regardless, they'll be just fine.
They'll be fine.
I think some people are down on them right now when they shouldn't be because, I mean, Group 5 is good this year. You got Washington Township, Kingsway, RV, Atlantic City, Cherry Elise, Cherokee, Williamstown, and Old Bridge, Southern, when we're incorporating those Central Jersey teams and whatnot. So it's important, as you said, to get back on track and go into the playoffs with some momentum when you're dealing with a field that wide open, that loaded.
But that's why it's kind of like one of those things is catch-22, right? One minute I say nobody cares, right? But this is the part that you have to take into consideration of who they have played.
Yep.
And that's a part of rankings. That's a part of deciding how good a team is, because if you're playing, this goes to the whole ranking and to the whole South Jersey high school. So if you're a player or coach listening to this, this is a little insight onto the way that, D2 Sports Network thinks about rankings and teams and all of that stuff, right? When you are a team that is playing lesser talented teams, you are expected to beat them by a certain amount of points, right? And what that does is it lets people know how good you are. You really are, right? So if you're playing a team that's won one game and it's a 2-score game, that's telling us like you're closer to them than you are to one of the other teams, right? Take Glassboro. Glassboro is doing what they're supposed to do. They are smoking everybody that they're playing. I mean, absolutely smoking them, leaving no doubt, right?
I see some of these clips and it's like
right. So you're like, okay, how good are they? I don't know, but they're doing what they're supposed to do. Like
I'll take Cherry Elise too for another example that just popped into our rankings.
Right.
They won tonight, 42-0. I mean, they were up 42-0 at half, but
that's what you're supposed to do.
Took the starters at halftime.
Right. So that goes into why we kept RV in our rankings for a while, because they lost to Camden by a point or two.
2 points.
2 points, right? And then they played. Oh, who did they play? Old Bridge? Who did no, that was Cedar Creek.
Cedar Creek started the year with the loss. Yeah, they've won every game since. Yeah.
Case in point.
And that's why they've blown teams out. So it's not like they're 1-2 score wins. They're running clocks.
Right. So that's a part of RV. You've played tough teams. You've got punched in the mouth because of the circumstances. You may not have had all of your players or whatever. But now you're getting those guys back. It's the second week with them. Now the players should be starting to get more acclimated to the, everybody kind of coming back and knowing what people should do. But at some point, right, as a coaching staff and as a player, and even me as a parent, like when my kid played at Timber Creek, it's like, yo, bro, y'all got to make plays. Like you playing the game, somebody got to make a play, right? So we want to see them have success. And just all around, man, it's a tough situation they were put in. But, coach down there knows what he's doing. I'm sure he's putting things in motion, and kind of playoffs, watch out for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Watch out.
Yeah, and as I said, I mean, that's a game that was on my radar. Definitely a game to check out on Saturday. And RV's excited for the opportunity to get back to the drawing board and to get back on track. So
one question just came in. Timor, I'm not sure if you saw it early. The question is, who do we have Township Kingsway? Go to D2 Sports Network. You can see the article that Kevin Emmons wrote, and he has score predictions in there. I think, it's a good read.
Yeah.
Us overall, I think everybody's kind of leaning Township. I would say that Township's the favorite, but like I said, I wouldn't be surprised. If it
definitely should be a good game. And I know Mark mentioned it last night. It's sort of a litmus test for both teams. We're going to see where both teams are. As you just mentioned, you kind of can judge teams based on, not every game's the same. So as you mentioned earlier in the show, sometimes when you're a good team, you struggle, you stumble out the gate or whatever, you find a way to win. But that's not the case every week. Usually you could tell, okay, this team beat this team by X amount. They beat this team by X amount. They're closer to this team than they are that team.
Right.
But yeah, it's going to be a big match tomorrow. As Rick reiterated, head over to d2sportsnetwork.com. Make sure to subscribe. You could access the subscriber exclusive story that we just put out. It's a great article with a lot of information. You'll see a recap on, each team that's included. You'll see a recap on their game from last week or when the last time they played. I know, for example, Millville was featured in the story. They played tonight, but prior to that, they hadn't played in 2 weeks. So you'll see players to watch, predictions, matchup history. As the show is called By the Numbers, there's a lot of interesting numbers that we mention on the show that are embedded in those articles. So make sure to check that out. That pretty much does it for us. We had 2 great guests tonight, as we said. Tamir Rex, slot receiver and defensive back from Atlantic City. Coach Mike Schatzman from Washington Township, the number 7 ranked team in the state of New Jersey, the number 2 ranked public team. We thank them again for joining us. We thank all you guys for tuning in, listening, joining the discussion. And we're looking forward to another great weekend of high school football. Make sure to check us out on d2sportsnetwork.com, on Instagram at D2 Sports Network. As I always say, we have a lot of photographers, videographers who do great work. Reach out. They'll come out to your games. We love doing this for you guys. That's really the mission behind all this. I mean, it's great when, we're excited to have you guys on. This is a hobby for us. We thank you guys for joining us, the coaches, the players, the people tuning in. But when people, give us thanks or like, thank you for what you guys do, we appreciate it because that's really what this mission's about. We're out here to give you guys recognition, these players. I mean, we talked to Tamir earlier in the show and just a kid with a great head on his shoulders. And that's kind of stuff that makes me happy, hearing these kids that are motivated, they have goals in place, that they're, doing things to accomplish those goals. And we just want to give you guys the recognition you deserve and use that platform to do so. So we appreciate you guys tuning in. Chris, Rick, anything you guys want to add before we go?
I got nothing.
All right. Well, we thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to check us out. We'll see you next week for episode 9.